So maybe if we start, how did you get your job in the first place at the mine?
Well, I used to work on the council up on the Wicklow Gap. And I used to be looking down at the fellas going up and down to the mines. And then I was laid off and I decided to go up and see could I get a job in the mines. And I went up and met Jock Steele, who was the mine captain. And he asked me what age I was. I think I was about 20 at the time. And he gave me he said, well, you can start tomorrow or whatever. But I started in the mines anyway.
And what did you do as you started off? What was your first job?
The first job I done was loading wagons in the Fox Rock. That was one of the levels up there. Okay. And there was a man called Andy Foley, and a very nice, decent man. And John Byrne was pulling them out with a pony.
Okay. He was the pony man?
Pony man drawing the wagons out. So you loaded the wagons out of a hopper up there. And you prodded the stuff out with bars and shovels and whatever, and the wagon was full, and then you pushed it down to the corner. And there was about 4 wagons then loaded, or 5 maybe. The pony man would take them out and you'd fill 4 or 5 more wagons. This would be ore, lead and ore and stuff that's coming out of down the draw, kind of a draw point, and it come down into a hopper down on the level.
And what do you mean by down on the level? What did that mean?
Well, the level is where the track run in from the surface, and there was hoppers along the side, and the stuff was drilled and blasted up in the up in the stope where the ore was, and it would run down then, and we'd be prodded out into the wagons, and that's where you fill the wagons.
And how many of those wagons would you fill in a day?
I don't know now. I can't remember. You would fill quite a lot of them anyway. And the pony man would do so many runs and you'd fill them.
And did you progress then? That was the first job you had.
Yeah.
Did you progress along then?
Well,
jobs?
More days then. If there were, some days you'd have to go up a level and loading by hand, a short shovel, which was very hard work. And you'd load in the wagons by hand up the tunnel called the West Tunnel. That'd be a tunnel to be driving the tunnel along, a new tunnel. Okay. And you'd have to, you might be helping up there loading that by hand. That was very hard work.
Tough going. And you were 8 hours straight working?
8 hours, yeah. Well, we stopped for tea during the day for 20 minutes.
Okay. You just have, did you have only just a 1 20-minute break, or did you?
Just 1 20 minutes, just 3 hours,
And that was your lunch and everything. That was the whole lot.
That was it, yeah.
And did you eat down on the level, or did you?
No, we used to go out to the surface to have our lunch.
For having your lunch.
Yeah.
And what kind of lunch did you have?
Well, sandwiches, I suppose, whatever on the day. It was probably whatever, was the sandwiches and salad or whatever you'd be.
And how was the tea made? Was there?
Oh, the tea, there was an old boiler there in one of the huts, and the tea would be made there, that'd be boiling there. But conditions were very bad up there.
And were you out in the open when you were having your lunch?
No, there was a big Nissan hut there.
Okay.
You'd be out to the open if you went to go to the toilet, because no toilets up there, up behind the rock and the hill.
That's how you manage that. But you say the conditions were bad, besides not having...
Well, the conditions were bad underground, in that when you were up in a level, at sub level, doing a new level, you must remember there was no electricity underground up there. And that meant that you could have no fan to take out the fumes and the gases and small, well, there wouldn't be, so it's smoke after a blast, but blasting is usually done when you're going out in the evening.
But dust all the time as well.
But there'd be dust as well. And of course there was no such thing as dust masks in them days. And you'd be lifting up big lumps of solid blasted rocks, throwing them into the wagon, and then you couldn't lift on a shovel. Well, you had no industrial gloves, you were lifting it with your bare hands.
And what were your hands like? Were they all calloused?
They'd be cut, you'd be careful the way you grip it down. You'd soon get cute that you'd feel it 2 or 3 times before you start lifting, making sure there wasn't a sharp edge going into your finger.
Yeah.
You get cute like that way.
And how big would it be, the biggest rocks that you'd
There'd be some of the rocks maybe a stone or 2 weight, but it was usually small stuff you shoveled in. But if there was a big rock or a few big rocks in it, you would have to throw them by hand because they'd be too heavy to get on a shovel. So you'd have to throw them in by hand.
And for the entire time that you worked in the mine, was that the only job you had, was loading up?
No,
so did you go
I was over there, and then I was transferred to the other level, the Mould Oil, and I was sent over there helping the driller.
Okay.
Johnny Muffy, he was known as Spud Muffy, yeah, great little bloke. And the two of us were drilling raises then and sub-levels. A raise would be what, we'll say a level runs along here. Well, a raise would go up through the ore, where the ore would be. And it go up maybe 30 or 40 feet. And then a level, a sub-level branched off. Another raise would go further. That meant there was a block between. So you got the whole thing into blocks. And then that was blasted down through the draw points, and that's where the ore, that's the way it was blasted out.
And then that ore would be taken out once?
That would be the same as the other side. It would be the kind of honeycomb, the whole block where the ore would be. There'd be it'd be drilled into squares, and then it'd be benched off then.
And that was very precise work, I'd say, knowing exactly where to drill.
Yeah, well, the fella, Spud Murphy, he'd be the driller. He was the driller putting up the raises, and I was helping him getting explosives and helping him put up a stage. You'd have to put up a stage, you'd have to take it down every time before you blast, and it'd go up about 5 feet. And then the next day when you come in, you had to go up and set the stage again and drill holes 5 feet up and put up a new stage.
So and up 5 feet every time?
About 5 foot rounds to wear. A round's what we call a blast.
And how long would it take to clear the ore from that one blasting that you would do?
Well, the next shift coming in would what we call mucking it out. They'd load it all into wagons, clear it all out.
So in a shift, whatever you would blast in one shift that you were doing, the next shift then would do all the
They'd what we call muck it out. They'd clear it all, load it all up into wagons and push it out.
Now,
load it by hand, of course.
During all this time, where were you living? Were you living locally?
Oh, living in Claravale in the home place, and
that was
with my mother
parents.
and God be good. What?
With your parents?
Well, my father was dead, but living with my mother and my brother and 2 sisters was there.
And was anybody else in the family working on the mines or
no.
anywhere? Just yourself?
No.
Yeah.
No one else worked underground in the mine.
Okay, or in the mine at all?
Well, when I worked in Avoca, my brother worked on the plant in Avoca, but that's a different story. Yeah.
And did you socialise with the other guys then?
I did, but I didn't drink then, you see.
Okay. You only took it up later?
I hadn't matured at the drinking stage. I was about 20 and I didn't take any, but I would be socialising down in Burns-O'Larn and here in the bar in the Royal Hotel. It was the old time then. Tom and Tim was the bar on, and we'd be in here having the crack and slagging and one thing and another.
And when would you come down to the pub down here?
Well, I more or less went to dances down here. It would be down here if there was something going on and there was.
And would there be dances here? No,
there was no dances here then, but I'm talking about, as you said how I socialised, I might be socialised in Rathdrum or something like that, you know.
But it wouldn't necessarily be minors, you'd be
No, it'd be just everyone, you know.
But it would just be coming for a bit of crack and a couple of drinks with the lads?
A bit of crack and a bit and drinks, and there'd be always kind of slagging going on.
And what would you slag each other about?
Oh, women, I suppose.
Now, would there be local girls that you'd get to know up around here, or would they all be over in the Rathdrum side of things?
No, we knew all the local girls here. There was a local hall here, and we go to the dances in that, and the local girls, they go to that dance in Barry's in Rathdrum was a famous dance hall that time. It's Jacob's now, it's a car sales room now, in fact, but it was Barry's ballroom, and there'd be dances there most weekends, and we go there and we're dancing in the Roundhead Hall and dancing over in Munstown, up in Kirikee, and all different places around.
And how did you get to all the different dances?
Well, I had a motorbike at that stage.
All right.
We've gone around on that.
So did you travel to and from work on the motorbike?
I did. When I went there first, I had a push bike, and then I bought an old car, and I got tired of that, and I decided to buy the motorbike. Well, everyone up there had motorbikes. Okay. So you had to be a part of the band.
In the winter, because weather around here would be quite hardy during the winter. How did you travel then?
Well, I went along dragging your feet along the ground, making sure you didn't fall off.
I could just see on the slippery roads going along.
2 feet like that, and you drag along the road driving slow. But you would fall off it sometimes, but you didn't mind when you were falling off a motorbike when you were doing meant nothing.
Meant nothing. And listen, did you get holidays from work, or?
I can't remember about holidays now. I can't even remember going on holidays up there.
You didn't get time off?
I wouldn't be going anywhere anyway in them days. It's not like now where every chance at all, 2 or 3 times a year, people are flying to Spain and the Bahamas and all them places. There was no such thing in them days.
And what, did you get a break at Christmas?
Ah, yeah, you'd be off for Christmas, and I forget how long, a few days, I suppose. Wouldn't be like now, the place wouldn't close down for a fortnight.
Yeah, it wouldn't close down completely anyway.
No, it wouldn't.
No, it'd keep on going. And you did the 8-hour shifts, and there was 3 8-hour shifts.
3 8-hour shifts, yeah. But when I was up there now, it was on 2 shifts. I never done a full night shift.
Okay.
The night 4 to 12 was the afternoon shift, and 8 to 4 was the day shift. 4 to 12 was the afternoon shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me this: were you ever afraid going into the mine?
No.
No, you weren't afraid of it.
It was now one thing that never got me was fear, and the one good thing I found about working up there with them lads is there was a great loyalty between everyone.
Okay.
I said that on the video as well.
Yeah.
Don't want to repeat myself completely either out of what was on the video, but it was a great. Whether people knew there was a certain danger, and that created a fierce comradeship or what, I don't know.
There was always somebody else to watch your back.
There was always great comradeship between everyone, and there was people, as I said before, there was people from Rathdrum and from all over the place, Cunry and Glenealy and Avoca and everywhere, worked up there, but there was no such thing as you're from there and you're from somewhere else, and everyone was like a family there, and that was a great thing about it. And I think myself, it was the bad conditions, because conditions were bad. You know, you had no proper clothing, you had no proper footwear, you had nowhere to wash up when you come out in the evening, you went home dirty. There was no thing as a shower room, no such thing as a toilet. You know, and there was no thing as a proper canteen. You might get a mug of tea all right and have your sandwiches with, I'd say that. But you couldn't come out and have a locker and with your good clothes in and put them all in and have a shower or anything like other mines.
So did you go home in your work clothes?
You go home in your work clothes, everyone else did as well.
Yeah, everyone is the same way.
Yeah.
The whole lot.
Yeah.
And say, were there older miners that were there when you were there?
Oh, they were, yeah. I was only 20, sure.
And how old would the older guys have been?
Well, I suppose there was no one very old. No, the fellas, you know, maybe the oldest would be in their 30s now. There was 3 foremen there. Mick Fortune was the day foreman, and John Murphy and Tom Murphy were 2 shift foremen. Well, you couldn't work with 3 bare fellas. I'd never ask you to do something they wouldn't do themselves. So great foreman, I worked with a lot of foremen. Like, they were 3 great guys to work under. They'd never come in and the seen you were struggling, they knew you were struggling. They'd never come along and say, get a move on or anything like that. There were 3 great guys to work with them, you know.
And how did they manage communicating during the course of the shift? There'd be guys down in the mine, or you might be, when you were with the driller, you'd have been down at a different level. How did they get, if something needed to be done, did they pass messages down, or how did they do it?
There was no phone link or no walkie-talkies or anything, and then with a walkie-talkie probably wouldn't work down there, but there was no phone link to the surface or anything like that.
Nothing like that. So
someone had to walk out to the surface.
Okay. And you didn't have anybody that was like runners or messengers or anything?
No, there was no one like that.
So there was no fast way of getting a message out?
Whoever, if there was something happening in place, some fella had to make his way to the surface. And then, of course, you had no electric underground, and you had no electric lamps, like battery lamps, like what miners have afterwards. You had a carbide lamp.
And was that bright, or was it very dull?
It was very dull. And when the air would be going bad, with the oxygen gone out of the air, the light would go real dull. And it's time to get out then, because you'd feel your knees getting a bit wobbly as well, the lack of air.
You'd feel it yourself, the lack
of air. Oh, you'd feel yourself getting really tired and sweaty, and take no chance just making for the surface, because if you don't, you'll fall over, as many one did.
Yeah. And how far into the mine would you have been at the furthest?
I suppose it was half a mile in, maybe, or maybe a bit more. I'm not quite sure the exact distance.
5 or 10 minutes to get out.
Oh, it would, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it would, yeah.
So you wouldn't leave it too late to get out?
You'd need to be, the 2 legs would have to be working well to get out. But the lighting was very poor, you know, because the one big loss that place had up there compared to other place, there was no electricity. Then you couldn't have a fan to take out the bad air. You had nothing without electricity.
Yeah. And were there, say when you went in, whatever entrance you went in, was that the same entrance out?
There was only the one entrance. There was only the one entrance.
So same in and out?
That's right. There was only the one entrance to either tunnels.
And how did, you came from over the valley, from the other side from Claravale.
Yeah.
Did people around here, did they have a lot of appreciation of the miners, or what did they think of the miners?
And the miners was highly respected, and there was no one had any. Everyone was always welcome around here by everyone. There was no thing as you were from this or that area and you were no business there or anything like that. Everyone was made very welcome by the people around here.
And were the traditions locally about the mining? Were there old pishogues or anything that people would?
Well, not that I know of, because I didn't live around here. It's about 3 or 4 miles over the Claravale where I live. But no, I don't think so. There was a lot of stories told about old miners where they'd go in with a candle, they'd light a candle and bring it in before there was carbide lamps, and just stick a candle up on the wall.
And how did you work with so little light? It seems amazing that you could manage it all.
Well, it wasn't great, I suppose, and you kind of get used to it, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's that?
Getting on to just lastly, kind of, did you feel you were earning good money, or was it?
Well, we were.
Or what way was it?
Yeah, we were earning more money than the people on the council or the forestry or farmers or anyone like that. Yeah. You were earning good money. For the work we were doing and the conditions, and probably the injuries to our health if we were there long enough. I wasn't there long enough, I was only a couple of years there. But I suppose if you look on it in the long term that way, maybe you wouldn't be earning good money because you'd probably injure your health in the long term.
Like many of them did. Yeah,
many of them did, and in pits they got silicosis and they got all sorts of things from the dust, like there'd be a lot of dust and bad air, and that is bound to be injurious for your health, I suppose. But when you're young and you're only there a short time, it probably wouldn't affect your system to probably heal up then after that. I don't know, probably.
But did you work here when it was closed? Were you still working?
No, I wasn't. I was working in Avoca then. I left it here. I had a bit of a row and fell out and left.
And what kind of row had you got that you?
I just fell out over it. I'm not going to go into it now.
Okay. That's
well, Jack Seal,
bygones be bygones.
Yeah. I didn't
agree. You went on to work in Avoca. Did you work in the mine in Avoca?
Oh, the mine underground Avoca. There was no comparison. It was a huge organised mine, like. And
were the conditions a lot better?
Oh yeah. You had your own locker and your kind of big shower room. You go out and go in with your good clothes. You could come out at 12 o'clock at night, have a shower, put on your good clothes, and go to dance in Avoca without going home. That was the big difference. Well, there was no comparison.
And did you work there for long?
I worked there for a few years, and then I fell out there and went to England. and then I went back there again.
You didn't have... Did you work in mining when you went to England?
No.
No, you worked something else?
I worked in the motorways, driving scrapers and all that. So
and then did you come back to the mines in Avoca afterwards?
To come home, and I was doing grand and I come home, and the fellas got around me to go back. They give me a new machine and everything. I went back and I packed it up then after about 6 or 8 months ago. I had got the habit of walking out on site driving machines, and I packed it up and went off down to Shannon Airport. They were building the big jet runway at the time there. Went off working there, and I never went underground again.
Looking back on it now, do you think of it as being hard times, or were they good times when you worked here?
When I worked here? Well, you see, I was single, and I was earning fairly good money, having a fairly good life. But I think for a married man with a few children, working, with, say, on the council of the forestry, I think there were very hard times in Ireland. Because, like, money was small and there wasn't that much coming from the state, like, by way of grants or by way of help. And I think it was a poor time in the country.
It was a tough time.
It was. The working people in this country, they never had it great because they worked 365 days, or we'll say 52 weeks a year. A married man with a family in them days, him or his family, they never went on holidays. They wouldn't know what a holiday was, because they had no money to go on a holiday. And most of their jobs, there was no holidays given, and if they do, as I said, they couldn't afford to go on holiday.
Yeah, they couldn't afford it. But like you yourself say, you can't remember even getting holidays when you were there.
Well, you got holidays. When I worked in Avoca, got holidays all right, but we were earning fierce good money down there, like. Yeah. And I was single bloke and give me mother a few quid living at home, and I had a kind of a good life that way,
Looking back across your life then, do you look back on the time you were in the mines fondly, or are you glad they're well behind you?
I look back on it fondly, because I look back on the life up. I look back on my life fondly in the mines in the mines in Glendalough, because I learned a lot. There was a great comradeship there, and I liked that. And I liked all the guys that worked there. They were all good friends of mine, and still are. Any of them that's still around.
Still a few of them out there.
There's a few of them there tonight as well.
Listen, thanks a million.
I can't have a drink with them tonight because I have to drive the car back across the Wicklow Canal.
Not like in the old days where you get up on the motorbike with a few jars inside, I'd say.
I never drank very much. I was 23 or 4 before I took a drink at all. Like.
Right, so.
Working selling the stuff in England, I started drinking. You don't know me now, are you?
So I'd say we have a load that was really good.